and so on and so forth. Um, Family, by the way, I probably had my mic muted as as I often have. Right. So again, welcome to Sucker Free Saturday. Sorry about that. Yes, I'm here, and yes, I hope you can hear me loud and clear now. Damn it. Um, yeah. So family, again, welcome to your Sucker Free Saturday. Sorry about the sorry about the muted mic there. Let me recap. Make sure you hit the like and hater button on your way in. Let YouTube notice the type of content you want to hear, right? That you want to see. Also, if you have a social media presence, by the way, Barshawn, welcome back. Shout out to the elder brother BGS, Miss Denny in the house, Zulu, Tazaba, love you. Welcome back. Spook, always a pleasure. Pookie, Midtown's in the house, right? I wanted to shout out all of you and thank you so much for joining us for Sucker Free Saturday. Remember, this is being the last Sucker-Free Saturday of the month. There will be the drawing for $25 at the end of the broadcast. So please, if for no other reason than to try to get some bread, stick around, watch the broadcast. If you have a social media presence, Twitter, Facebook, go ahead and share the video. And if you're new, please go ahead and stay a while. Join the Angry Black Sheep. I guarantee you're going to like what you hear. Down in the description field of this video, there are links that help support my channel, links to books to give you some information on ADOS struggles in our lineage. There's also links to my merchandise for the Angry Black Sheep. Great new logo designed by a wonderful brother, and it also helps to support my channel as well. So please make sure that you at least investigate that. And if you decide you want to go ahead and pull the trigger, it would be definitely appreciated. All right. So the topic of today's discussion. Oh, by the way, happy early birthday to my brother Barshawn, 42. I remember 42 as a damn good age. Matter of fact, every year is a good year. So glad that you're going to be enjoying another year, and many, many more to you, my dear brother. Um, the topic of today's broadcast is making a whole. Now, that title is weird, so I'm definitely going to explain what it is that I mean. What it do, Black Man 903? What it do? Family, we're going to talk today about making a whole.
Just a tip to get your Saturday started.
Thank you, Miss Denny. I appreciate the tip, and I appreciate the love as always. Thank you, thank you, thank you. May it be the first of many. Uh, Family, today we're going to talk about radicalism in the confines of the ADOS transformational moment. As you know, yesterday in my daily dose, I spoke about fear and how fear does its work in keeping us from doing ours, right? How the accusations of putting our families at risk, putting our livelihoods at risk, some of us even putting our lives at risk, fear telling you that this isn't something that's tenable, fear accusing you of being foolish, right? Of being undignified and so on and so forth, right? The reason why I mentioned that yesterday in my daily dose was to set up the broadcast for today, right? And the reason why it's necessary for us to talk about this is because, in point of fact, making a whole is what ADOS people need to do right now. Miss Kwame in the house, August in the house. I'm so glad to see you guys back again. Welcome to your Sucker-Free Saturday. First, before I even jump into discussing the necessity of radicalism for ADOS advocates and proponents, we need to define what it is that I mean, right? Because radicalism is one of those terms that, depending on who's saying it and how they define it, could mean the difference between someone saying, yeah, I'm with that, and somebody going, hell no, I'm not with that, right? So I define radicalism in the sense of the Latin root word radii, which means root, right? It means to go to the root of matters. A radical, in the strict sense that I'm using the term radical for ADOS, is somebody who is working constantly to strike the root of our issues as ADOS people, who are going directly to the source of our problems. You feel me? Those of us who are ADOS advocates and proponents who are radical are those of us who are slicing away all of the bullshit, all of the fat, all of the mess, and are going straight to the heart of the matters. We're going straight to the heart of matters. And by doing this, we create a hole. We make a space for those who are able to engage to be able to actually do the work that they need to do. I'm going to give you some examples of what I'm talking about. Many of you are familiar with Mohandas Gandhi, right? I'm not going to use the name Mahatma. That's actually Sanskrit for great soul or great person. I don't necessarily consider Mohandas Gandhi to be a great person. But many of you are familiar with Mohandas Gandhi, right? Formerly of South Africa, who returned to his native India and helped through the use of nonviolent struggle and agitation to help free India from the clutches of the British Empire, right? But how many of you are familiar with people other than him, right? Individuals who actually took fighting to the British, who attacked them, who fought, and in some cases even killed British leaders, politicians, so on and so forth. You don't really hear about those people now, do you? Mm-mm. I'm not going to tell you their names. I want you to go and look them up because this is a matter of historical note. Understand that Gandhi being heralded does not mean that he was the leader of the independence struggle. There were other advocates, other leaders who were much more radical, who eschewed this idea of satyagraha, right? This nonviolent struggle. In many cases, they picked up the pen. In some cases, they picked up the bomb and the gun. And they're not talked about outside of India. But inside of India, people are aware of them and they revere them and they respect them. We talk about Martin Luther King. We talk about Medgar Evers, right? So on and so forth. But we start to get a little uncomfortable when we start talking about people like El Malik El Shabazz. We get even a little more uncomfortable when we start mentioning people like Demark Vesey, Nat Turner, when we start mentioning people like Christopher Dorner, like Micah X. Johnson, or Cosmo Setepinra. Why is it that we get uncomfortable? Well, the answer is simple. Because by their actions, they left no room whatsoever for ambiguity. You can argue the soundness of the tactics they chose to engage in. In the case of Micah and Cosmo, essentially mass shootings of law enforcement officers. You can argue whether or not at that particular point in time that was a sound tactic to use. However, if you were being internally consistent with yourself, understanding the clear dynamic in which ADOS exists in this country, you would be remiss to call these individuals anything but what they are, freedom fighters. You would be remiss to call them anything else. If you took Micah and Cosmo, Christopher Dorner, and others, and you change their skin color and nationality to anything else but black, but ADOS, and they would be considered to be heroes. Unquestionably heroes. Now, before I continue, let me make clear, just in case the motherfucking YouTube police or the haters get a hold of this video and hear me talking about these individuals, understand I am not advocating that anyone go out and harm anyone. Okay? I'm not saying go and kill up a bunch of cops. I'm not saying go out and attack anyone. However, I am saying that radical action, direct radical action, is necessary. Why is that? Because radical direct action, family, is what makes the whole. Don't worry about it, Joan. Do what you can when you can. When I say make a whole, let's understand why it is that Mohandas is called the Mahatma. Mohandas presented a face to the British that was eminently reasonable, peaceful. This man went on hunger strikes, literally starving himself, right? At even the thought of committing violence. So why did the British listen to him? What was it about him that made the British say, if we're going to have any type of discussion, it needs to be with this cat? I can tell you. What was unique about him was that he presented a moderate face, one face of the movement that they could be comfortable with, that they weren't afraid of, that they didn't have to worry about any military stratagems, tricks, ambushes, counterintelligence, so on and so forth. He presented essentially a face of an honest dealer, because all's fair in love and war. The real revolutionaries in India would not have been wanting to sit down at a table with the British. They would be wanting to burn the table up, preferably with the British sitting at it. I'm going to let you in on a little secret, family, that you probably were not aware of. At the time Martin Luther King was alive, he was not loved by America. Not at all. America couldn't stand him. I'm talking about America. Even ADOS America had a portion of us who just couldn't fuck with him. No bullshit. He was hated. But he was able to go and sit with JFK and RFK and LBJ when no other black leaders of our time were able to, really. Why do you think that was? I can tell you, you have people like El Malik El Shabazz to thank for that. You have people like the Black Panther Party for self-defense to thank for that. You see, family, through their radical action, their uncompromising radical action. They changed the narrative so much so to the point where they created a space for a black face to have a voice. I'm quite certain in those internal councils that Martin Luther King had with JFK, with RFK, Robert Fitzgerald Kennedy, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, and with Lyndon Baines Johnson, that he probably intimated to them, it would be better for you to speak with me than for you to have to face them. Radical ADOS action, invading their spaces, going to political events and invading their spaces, being loud, disruptive, disrespectful, even brash, bold, uncompromising, painful to look at, causing a scene, raising a ruckus. That radical action is going to be what creates a hole, which makes a way for the more moderate voices amongst us to have a seat at the table. Peace, Sister Lila. Welcome to your Sucka-Free Saturday. Family, I'm not going to drag this one on for long because I don't feel like I need to. I am asking us today on this Sucka-Free Saturday to commit to being the most radical group of ADOS folk that have ever existed in the confines of the United States of America. I am asking you to step up to the plate with the ancestors being the wind beneath our wings and to act boldly, unapologetically. I'm asking you to be the sand in the gears, to grind the machine to a halt until what we need to have happen happens. And I need you to do it with no fear. With no fear. Because I can guarantee you, family, that the more loud, the more radical, the more you don't stand by and wait to see what happens, the more you act, the more likely we are to get what it is that we're demanding. Thank you, Afro. I'm glad somebody sees it, brother. I'm so glad that somebody sees it. You and I, as American citizens, have been propagandized to believe that radicalism is from the devil itself. Notice when they talk about Islamic fighters, because again, one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter. When they talk about Islamic fighters, notice the phrase that they use: radical Islamists. And you see these actions sometimes that come at a great cost of life, of limb, of freedom, of property, and you get shook. Damn, how can somebody hate us that much that they willing to kill 3,000 motherfuckers and burn down 2 skyscrapers? But you know what though? Family, if you had been in any way studying even a modicum of geopolitics, looking outside the confines of the borders of your nation to see what's happening elsewhere, 9/11 wasn't even a fucking surprise. They called it a surprise attack. No, it wasn't. It was eminently predictable. When you invade the sovereignty of other people's lands, lay hands to their wealth, their resources, and leave behind puppet governments that practice tyranny, that deny individual and personal religious freedom, what the fuck do you think is going to happen? You're right, Ms. Denny. They already knew that something like that was, but you're right. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that we, as citizens, should have been well aware that something like that would occur. I mean, was what happened at the World Trade Tower in 1993 not enough of a clue to you that that place was a target? They had attempted to bomb it in 1993 unsuccessfully. But we were so shocked that they were finally successful in 2001? Huh? I'm going to share with you a little story. I was talking to a white person about reparations, about ADOS. And I was giving them the full shebang. I don't hold nothing back, family. Y'all know how I roll. I don't pull no punches. I'm not catering to nobody's feelings. I don't give a fuck what you're feeling. So I gave it to them full bore, both barrels, boom, boom, right? And after I finished, took me about maybe 20 minutes to run down 400 years of basic history in America. They were very quiet. And then they said, how is it that more of you don't hate us? You see, family, as your brother and one who loves you, I want to tell you something that no one else will really tell you. For what we have had to face as the outcasts, right? As the underclass, as the ones set up in America to eat the failure, with what we've had to face over the last 400 years, the wonder is it that some of us go out and kill people or blow things up or disrupt public spaces and so on and so forth. That's not the wonder. The thing that should be the cause of wonder for every American is how we can still smile at you, that we can still see you with kindness, with fondness. 400 years of injustice, and yet we can still help an old white lady walk across the street with her groceries. We can still give a stick of butter to the neighbors. August, I thought that it was like that. I thought it was primarily due to the overwhelming Christian bias of black folk. And I would argue that that does play some degree of a role. However, I don't think it's the answer. When I ponder upon this, the only answer that makes sense is that ADOS people are simply biding their time. You, my family, my beloved, have every right, with every breath in you, with every action you take, to not only ask for justice, but to demand it. And if possible, take it by any means that you can figure out to do. You would be well within your rights to be as radical as you so choose. And sure, the propaganda machine of the pale stream media would propagandize against you depending on your actions. But no right thinking person would deny that you have the right to act in whatever fashion you see fit to forward your agenda. They're afraid that we're going to figure out that politics is simply violence by another means. It's a war of words, it's a war of the pen. They're afraid of us grasping that insight. Do you know why, family? Do you know why they're afraid? Because once we actually understand what politics is, what it actually is to do, what it's for, then everything changes for ADOS people in this country. Everything changes. Everything. Noel said, "What's up? What's up, Noel? Happy Saturday to you. Glad you stopped by." Harold Crawford said, ADOS has always had more humanity than the white supremacists. I would agree. I would agree. We have been this country's conscience. It's Jiminy Cricket. Rather than us going ham on whites, we warn them. We say, look at what's happening to us. We are the canaries in the coal mine. If this is happening to us today, rest assured one day it can happen to you. Family, I did a morning Joe a while back. It was one of the first morning Joes that I did on this channel, where I talked about the purpose of voting. Be safe out there, by the way, Noel. The purpose of voting is to lay out the numbers of people that, given a possible conflict, would support one side or another one of an issue, right? So when you think about the term ballot, in your mind, I would like for you to replace what you see, the little piece of paper. I would like for you to start visualizing a gun or a bullet, because that is essentially what voting is. Voting is saying that should this matter bring us to a point of open, hot war, hostile conflict, that I have the numbers on my side. So it is best that you prevent that conflict and simply acquiesce to our demands. That is essentially democracy 101. Politics is war, family. Make no mistake about it. Sure, you'll have people sitting around tables, wearing nice suits, beautiful dresses, speaking with rarefied English. But at the end of the day, there is just as much conflict at that table as would be on any battlefield. And like any battlefield, Whoever it is that is willing to go the furthest to do what their enemies are not willing to do will be ultimately the ones who are successful. Period. Full stop. The end. If you would really like to know, family, how it is that white supremacy has been able to maintain its dominance for so long, I can tell you. It pissed me off when I figured this one out. And it would probably piss you off too. The reason why white supremacy has been able to maintain its dominance for so long, while there's factors like they have a war machine and they have resources and so on and so forth, that stuff's important. But that's not the key reason. The key reason why white supremacy continues to dominate here in America and around the globe is because these nations will do what others are not willing to do. You want to call it war crimes? They don't give a fuck. You want to call it crimes against humanity? They don't give a fuck. You want to call it theft, rapine, brutality, torture? They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. They use politics long before a bullet is ever fired. Don't believe me? Ask the veterans amongst us. If the brother Elder BGS is still here, he knows paper bullets fly long before real ones do. Why do you think they called the conflict between the former Soviet Union and the United States the Cold War? Because you had ostensibly two opposing political ideologies, both mutually exclusive. And only one was ultimately going to dominate. By the way, just because the Soviet Union has collapsed doesn't mean that capitalism won. I'm just saying. Before you think that the end of history has happened and capitalism has reigned supreme, don't count communism out yet. Don't count it out yet. I agree. Afro, look, your Second Amendment rights protect all the rest. That's what the white folks tell us. Isn't that right? They tell us that the Second Amendment protects all their other rights. The Second Amendment, they've interpreted as giving them the capability to war against their own government if need be in order to get what they want. Enshrined in the Constitution. Yet, y'all think I'm asking for too much because I'm asking you to talk louder, to get into people's faces, to invade their spaces, to disrupt things. I ain't asked you to pull a single trigger. I ain't asked you to load a fuse in a single bomb. But your fellow citizens, your European citizens, your fellow European citizen compatriots, they have no problem with threatening and or engaging in force if need be to get what they want politically. That's how white supremacy has continued to dominate both here in the United States and around the globe. because these people will use politics to justify acting in any way necessary in order to preserve, protect, and uphold their interests. And it's as simple as that. So, family, I ask you today, what is it that you are willing to do to support, uplift, advance your interests? But more importantly, what aren't you willing to do? What is it that you won't do? I know you're thinking, oh shit, he's borderline, he's talking on some of that psycho shit. Not so fast. Because I have none other than Frederick Douglass back in my play. Who you got? Now I hate to make appeals to authority. It's a logical fallacy. So I won't appeal to him. I will just simply present his words and allow his words to speak whatever they speak to you. Frederick Douglass said, find out what a people will quietly submit to, and you will know the limit of the injustice that will be visited upon them. Do I need to repeat that for you? Find out what a people will quietly submit to, and you will know the limits of the injustice that will be put upon them, that will be set upon them. You see, family, America pulled our whole card a long time ago when they defrauded us of our funds saved up in the Freedmen's Bank back during Reconstruction. We let it ride. When the Supreme Court upheld Plessy v. Ferguson, initiating the onset of official government sanctioned Jim Crow in the United States, we acquiesced. We doffed the hat. We stepped off the curb. We lowered our gaze. Sure, there was the threat of violence. Sometimes there was the actuality of violence. The KKK reached its height in the 1920s. The highest number of lynchings that ever happened to black folk peaked in the 1930s. So, yeah, there was the threat of violence. But what would have happened, family, if every single time they brought violence to us, we returned it to them? Every single time. Not a few times, not one offs, but every time. What if there was a video being streamed of an interaction with law enforcement where the law enforcement officers proceed to jump on the brother's back and bash his face on the street? And rather than people standing there yelling about how messed up that situation is, a mob of citizens, hundreds of them, descend upon those officers and send their asses packing, disarmed, a little worse for wear, and with one phrase ringing in their ear: thus always to tyrants. I'm asking you. I'm asking you, family. I'm asking you. Harold, they've always had superior firepower. True. A lot of guns. Americans love their guns. How many of you have connections to the hood? I was born and raised in the PJs. I'm definitely a hood child. Many of you are, right? Poor, working class, ADOS folk. If you are a hood child, right? A ghetto dweller, denizen of the hood, if you will, then what I'm about to say next will be absolutely familiar to you. In the hood, when somebody pulls a gun out on you, there's a phrase that ADOS usually responds with: nigga, you better kill me. You got this gun out, you better kill me. Because if you don't kill me, what you got coming back for you is going to be hell to tell the captain. All I'm asking is, where's that same spirit with the rest of America? They keep testing us. They keep testing us. They keep coming at us. Not just politically, right? I'm talking about politics. But understand, family, the lessons that I'm sharing with you that have political ramifications also have ramifications for our daily existence in America as ADOS folk. Where is that same energy for the rest of America? We have it for each other, right? You can face your brother and sister with no fear. They get angry and they pull out the steel on you. You can stand there bold, unafraid, bearing your damn chest. Shoot me right here, nigga, is what you saying. And you best not miss. Remember Umar from The Wire, right? You come at the king, you best not miss, right? That's us to each other. Where's that same energy for the rest of America? For all of them. Not just white folks, everybody. When they come into our neighborhoods and economically infiltrate our neighborhoods with their businesses and things like that, rather than gaining our automatic and undying support, where's our unapologetic, brash, bold stand that says, you can start a business. This is America, but you can't start it here. You can own property. Go own it where them white folks live at. You can't own it here. Right? That's all I'm asking you, family. Where's that same energy for all of America? That same boldness, that same willingness to stand in the line of fire, knowing that your cause is just, that you have every right to stand in your own defense. Where's that same energy when dealing with everybody else? It's time to use your noodle, family. Mark Black's not saying anything crazy or untoward or strange or weird. This is stuff you're already doing. You're just not extending it. It's like you're going only so far with your behaviors, with your unapologetic, bold brashness. When in these days and times, that same fire, that same willingness to say, you're going to have to kill me to stop me, needs to be evident in every damn thing that we engage in the United States of America. Everything. everything. From our interactions with them when we go down to City Hall to pay the light bill, to our interactions with law enforcement on the street, to the interactions with the politicians when we go to their offices and sit there at their desks and demand an audience. Not ask them, are they there? Demand them to be there, because that is what bold, unapologetic, radical action looks like. Our ancestor Frederick Douglass said power never surrenders anything without a demand. It never has, and it never will. In other words, ADOS family, unless you are radical enough to demand what it is that you want, you will never get what it is that you need, what it is that you're looking for. Now, we have, luckily, very many voices that are damn fine voices that are suited to sit in councils and speak with our voice. They already are. People like Dr. Sandy Darity, right? People like Dr. Claude Anderson, even though he's fell off with his businesses and shit like that, I still respect the man highly. Somebody came and asked that man about reparations. He's been studying the problem for fucking 40 years. Yes, he's a voice, and one of which we should be glad to hear. But we, the fighters, we need to be creating those spaces. And we do that through radical action. We do that through bold, unapologetic, radical action with no fear. You're going to have to kill us or you're going to have to pay us. As simple as that. You either are going to settle this debt that you owe my people for 400 years, or you're going to have to end this. Because we're not taking anything less. Maneuver all your machinery. Do whatever it is you think you're going to do. It's not going to work. If he studied so long, Black Man says, how will HR 40 help? I told you what I think about HR 40, brother. HR 40 is a litmus test. I don't believe HR 40 in its current iteration is going to do much of anything for ADOS people. I don't believe it's going to do much of anything at all. Some degree of study about distribution needs to occur. They do need to come up with some numbers. There will need to be a commission or a committee of some sort that figures out the ultimate final number for distribution of our reparations. So yes, there will be some commission no matter what path we take politically. Somebody's going to have to come up with the number. They're going to have to come up with a standard by who qualifies, right? So in other words, they're going to have to establish a class, and then they're going to have to figure out the number and the distribution. How much of that money, how that number is going to be distributed to the people affected in the class. There will be a commission of some sort, but HR 40 isn't it. But it's a good litmus test. We can't even get a politician to back such a weak ass milquetoast bill such as HR 40. Then we already know where we stand with them. We already know where we stand with them. Family, I'm going to conclude by saying that it has been long past time for us to re embrace, if you will, the more radical of our ancestors, to uplift our heroes unapologetically. Nat Turner was a hero, and so was Micah. And so was Cosmo. You don't have to agree with the tactic they chose to fight, but understand they chose to fight. You don't have to agree with my ideas, but understand I am choosing to fight. Your brother Mark Black is telling you today, publicly, and to all of the United States, that if it is up to me, if I have a breath in this here ADOS body, you will either have to pay us or you're going to have to kill me to stop me from trying to get it. I'm not afraid of you. There's nothing you will do to me that you haven't already done to a myriads of my ancestors. We done seen the worst of what you have to offer, and I ain't biting. I'm not afraid. Stand with me, family. Bleed with me, right? Let's get dirty. Let's be radical. Let's go straight to the root. Let's bypass the middle people. Fuck Talib. Fuck the Butter Biscuit Brigade. Fuck white supremacists. Fuck all of them. Our battle, other than the one that we have to fight within our own selves to squelch our normal inclination towards cowardice and fear, our battle is with the United States government. Period, point blank, the goddamn end. That's it. Gird yourselves, family, and let's get ready to get it in. Thank you for joining me today for this Sucka-Free Saturday. Let's let's give away some money, shall we? All of you who are now watching are now able to win $25. I can either provide it to you via a gift card, or if you have PayPal, Cash App, or some other means by which you receive funds electronically, I can also provide you your $25 electronically. Ask Show Nuff. Show Nuff was the first winner who won 50 bucks. Show Nuff got his bread. Salute to you, Show Nuff. I'm glad you won it. So, how you enter is as follows. You are going to type in the word winning with an exclamation mark at the beginning, no spaces. And yes, black man, while we doing this drawing, you can ask me a question. Let me correct this real quick. $25. There we go. All right. And the giveaway is open. So now go ahead and type in that that just popped up in the chat. Go ahead and type that in. That's how you get an entry into the drawing. Everyone gets one entry. Thank you, family, for staying. I tried not to keep this one long. I knew exactly what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it. And I wanted to deliver you a message of power on this Sucker-Free Saturday. I want you to start acting more boldly, more radically, more open. I want you to get in there and get the work done. Because the longer we keep rolling over and acting as if we won't, the more likely it is that we won't. It's as simple as that. If you want reparations, fight for it. If you want peace, freedom, justice, prosperity for your people, fight for it. Remember, family, the code is exclamation mark and winning if you want an opportunity to be able to win the $25. Let's see here. Who's on top? Who's the leaders? Who's the soldiers? Keep going, black man. I'm following you because I know this is building up to a question. You right? Show enough. I've often believed that even on the day we're successful in our push to receive our justice claim, there will still be black folk who will be fighting us, kicking and screaming, telling us how stupid we are, how 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 much like beggars we are, kissing the ass of the white man, and so on and so forth, berating us, shitting on us. That's why I say it's time to be radical. Yeah, you started a union and you said that you had a hard time understanding each other, who's on top, who's the leaders, or who's the soldiers. I would have to know a bit more about the structure of your union, black man. Are you following me on Discord? Because I would like to discuss this in a little bit more detail, get some more information from you to help you answer your question. All right, family, I'm going to go ahead and pick the winner. NLR Forever. Congratulations. You won the $25. Thank you very, very much for your participation, for your love. NLR Forever. If you have a way that you want that to be delivered to you, my email address is blackoutcastmedia@gmail. That's blackoutcastmedia. Outcast is with a K at gmail.com. Go ahead and shoot me an email, right? And let me know how you want your $25. If you want a gift card, provide me with your address information. I'll make sure to get that out to you. If you have another means by which you'd like for me to provide that for you, I can also do that as well. And again, congratulations on your win. Black man, I'm sorry, I'm not quite under. Yeah, I saw you said you started a union, right? But I don't know what the question is. Is like, is your question how to go about picking leaders? Like, what's your question? What is it that you're asking needs to have happen, right? What is it that you're having the issue with? Is what that's the information that I'm missing. They didn't understand how I was trying to. Oh, better. Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, black man, it's funny. Your story of starting a union is the story of this ADOS transformational moment. Think about how many people that we try to communicate the benefits of this justice claim being pursued who just simply aren't grasping it for whatever reasons, right? I think, however, and you probably come to understand this, black man, in your time subsequent, that that cannot stop the advocacy. In other words, simply because the members of your union don't understand what benefit they gain for being a part of a union doesn't mean that the union has to die or that it stops. It just simply means that education, more information, has to be the order of the day. And it's the same with ADOS, right? Simply because people don't understand the mechanism and so on and so forth behind why we're pursuing this justice claim doesn't mean that we stop pursuing it. It just means that we need to, right? Yeah, I gotta say, I can relate. Being an ADOS advocate is one of the toughest things that I've ever had to do, but it's well worth it. Just as I'm certain it is well worth it to be the president or the founder of a union. I think that's an amazing thing that you did, and I wish that you would continue to do it. So, family, I won't keep you. I know many of you where you are, it's warm outside, still sunny out. Well, the sun's starting to go down if y'all back east, but it's still warm and nice out. Go enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Keep it sucker free. Again, congratulations to NLR Forever, right? Hit me up, blackoutcastmedia at gmail, on how you want your prize to be delivered to you. And family, I will see you guys again on Monday for your daily dose. But until then, I want to wish you all love, peace, prosperity, and power. Real power to our people.